Welcome to this special anniversary episode of Create Your Kindspace. Today we're celebrating 2 years of the podcast. That's 2 years of heartwarming conversations, deep reflections, and one question I've asked every single guest. How do you create your kindspace? The answers have been honest, surprising, funny, moving, but always real. So for this special episode, I've gathered some of those voices into a kind of audio mosaic and also stitched into it some of the responses from you, my beautiful audience. I'm so looking forward to sharing with you some really beautiful ideas centered around things like nature, our routines, movement, connection, and growth. And throughout all of this, I will be reflecting on the things I've learned from our conversations. So if you want to grab a cuppa and make yourself comfortable, we'll begin. For many people, creating a kind space begins by leaving their everyday space. Nature becomes a reset button, a place to return to themselves. For my first ever guest, Neil Beber, his kind space was all about the water.
It's always the sea, always the sea. Or I mean, if I can't find the sea, just water, open water. Last night I was in a wood, and on that wood walk, you could walk along a river, and every now and again the river would form a pool, and we were swimming last night in a river pool, which was just incredible. And the night before, we were at a beach where the sun was just setting, and we were the only people in the water. And for me, that idea of just treading water in the sea with the setting sun just lighting my face is absolutely my happy place.
That deep connection to the elements came up again and again. Pasna Salas, founder of Weekday Wow Factor, found hers on a solo trip to Glencoe. Just her tent, and a paddleboard.
Yeah, it can be quite tricky to find your own space, but when you do, I maximize it. So, for example, a few weeks ago, I got an opportunity to do a solo trip. So I packed my bag, I took my tent, my one-person tent, and headed to Glencoe. Went paddle boarding in one of the wee lochs there. Yeah, camped out, and then did Anach Enach with the ridge. So that was quite exciting and thrilling, quite challenging too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I felt great afterwards. Really, really good.
Sometimes it's not about adventure, but finding quiet and stillness. Professional writer Birgit Itze returns to the same favourite beach, not to do anything in particular, but just to simply be.
If I feel down and need to uplift myself,
Yeah.
my time. And that my time is usually my favourite beach, Dunmouth Beach. So I go there, I've got my quiet spot there, and I just sit there and be with myself, look at the sea, just notice things around me. And I sometimes stay there for hours.
Hannah Reynolds from Collaborative Communications, or COCO for short, who helps me behind the scenes with some of our marketing, said something very similar about how calming she finds the water. She said, "My kind space is anywhere near water. Sea, pond, lake, river. If it ripples, I'm there. I need to get away from my desk every day for a good stomp, and more often than not, I find myself gravitating towards water. There's something so calming about it, and it resets my brain." For psychologist Dr. Jill Williams, Kindspace lives in the freedom of a dog running full tilt across an empty beach. There's something in that joy that is just so contagious.
For me, if I'm having a tough day, is to take the dog straight out on the beach. And for me, dog owners will resonate with this. That moment where you take the lead off and they just run with joy. Just that feeling is kind of contagious, isn't it? When you're on a big, wide open space on the beach, that for me has always been the best way to be able to turn off those sort of and leave some of that emotional load till the next day.
I often wish that I lived closer to the sea And conversations like this also make me miss my beautiful dog Sky so much. Pets are a great motivator to get us outdoors as well. It's incredible how many of my guests mentioned being outside as being a big part of their Kindspace. And for Diane Crombie, founder of Bridget Care, it's about disconnecting physically, digitally and mentally to reconnect with the wild.
Over the last few years, I've done more just getting out into wild camping. So that's been my thing. So driving away, climbing to the top of a mountain. So the other weekend, I'm basically right now training for London Marathon. And rather than kind of do the laborious, let's just run on the road for 20 miles, I took my tent and I hiked to the top of one of the peaks in the snow, pitched up, and then did a kind of 14-mile run back to the car in the morning. And that just gave me a load of like free time just to like look at squirrels and look at birds and trees and cloud formations and stuff like that without any connection as well, because my 4G connection had gone on my phone. So it's brilliant.
Finally, Coach Gemma Burns reminds us that while movement in nature is freeing, sometimes the true Kindspace is simply noticing the scenery as you go.
My go-to for years has been exercise. That is definitely my pathway to let off steam, or to go for a nice long country run along the railway line, taking the scenery, or whatever that looks like. But there has been times where my health hasn't allowed me to do that, which I will admit has caused a lot of frustration and upset on the odd occasion.
Yeah. Of course, Kindspaces don't have to be found in faraway places or wide open landscapes. For many guests, they live right in the flow of everyday life, in the routines and small rituals that bring a sense of calm and clarity, even in the middle of our very busy days. And as we talked about in last month's episode, the need for a creative outlet was a big theme in how we create our Kindspaces. Let's hear from nutritionist Siobhan Jaffrey about how she finds a kind of quiet joy in baking.
Things that I like to do, I love baking. I find baking quite meditative because you're not on your phone, you've got to follow a recipe, you've kind of got to weigh everything out, and everything's got to be done to a certain way. And obviously at the end you've got this amazing thing that you've baked if it's turned out well. So baking, definitely. Yoga is something I do every day as well. And hiking and getting out. So being in fresh air.
I love a bit of baking. It is such a satisfying blend of science and creativity. Making bread in the morning feels like an extra special treat as the smells waft through the house. In general, I am a morning person, and this was another thing that came up in discussions about how important our mornings are. So, for example, Jenny Coxon, a social impact facilitator, shared her morning ritual on our social media, where she said, "I listen to a few short mindfulness pep talks each morning. It's a habit I've built since the 2020 pandemic, when everything felt chaotic. It helps me anchor in presence and think about how I reframe my thoughts for the day ahead." This makes perfect sense to me, and it's why I love journaling so much. Speaking of journaling, that has definitely been a common theme with many of my guests creating their own journals and books to help support themselves and others. Another common theme has been music. Founder of Blooming Mind, Holly Clark, loves to journal, but also uses music as an emotional compass, sometimes to lift her up, sometimes helping her feel what she needs to feel.
Oh, yeah. Well, for me, music is a massive kind of, I want to say mood lifter, but actually music just takes you where you need to be sometimes, I've got songs that when I need to have a bit of a release and, maybe kind of cry it out or anything, there's music that'll take me there. And then when you need to just, lift your spirits, you can have a little dance around the kitchen.
Unsurprisingly, music also plays a big role for Zan Schwinn, who founded a health tech platform called Bia that harnesses the power of singing. She turns to playlists and short walks to reset in moments of overwhelm.
I try to go out for walks. So if I'm feeling really, really anxious, like if right now and I'm doing something and we're on a work call and I get off the call and I can feel that sort of like I'll take a step up and maybe walk around the block or go and get some fresh air and just try to reset. I have a bunch of music playlists that obviously I use throughout the whole day. I have so much music that I have a whole set of playlists and albums that I have on rotation that help me, based on how I'm feeling and how I want to feel, help switch me into that energy.
When I asked about music online, many of you on social media shared how important this is for your well-being. There is nothing I love more than singing. I have loved music for as long as I can remember. It is 100% my kind space and keeps me grounded. I guess almost regulating my emotions. I'm always delighted when I speak to someone who also shares this passion. Like when I posted about my recent trip to see Moulin Rouge at the theatre on LinkedIn, and Nicola Davidson from the Success Formula said that she also absolutely loves music, singing and dancing and the theatre, and that every time she goes, she imagines herself on the stage. Similarly, Ben Albert from We All Grow Together said, "Love how this shines a light on everyday joy and self-care. For me, nature and music are the go-to Kindspace combo." So this just shows that it doesn't need to be one thing, and that the effects can be amplified when we combine different things together. For brain health nutrition specialist and now two-time author, Dr. Clara Doran, writing is her kind space. Here's what she had to say.
My kind space is linked to being able to write. So I feel if I'm struggling or I've had a lot going on, as you know, having your own business and founding something brand new is full of challenges that you don't even know exist until they appear in your inbox. And when I'm in a place where I'm really feeling like, struggling with different things, being able to write with my laptop or a notebook is where I would create my kind space, and finding somewhere where I can do that quietly, even if it's at home on my own with the door closed, or I've got a couple of particular coffee shops that I'll go to at certain times that I know are quieter. But once I'm there with my laptop and my earphones on, then after an hour or so, I'm ready to face the world again.
And then there's the joy of doing something with your hands. For Gemma Burns, DIY, especially during the long lockdown days, became both a creative and cathartic outlet.
But my alternative, although I do it at other times, is actually DIY. Yeah. So I absolutely love being able to go, right, I want that to look different. What do I need to do it? And I will just give it a go. I did paneling through COVID. Actually was probably the most busy time that my house got the transformation that it needed, because I had the time to do nothing much else. But I did paneling up my stairs that I never thought I would have been able to do. And granted, it's probably not, the best job. I probably went through a lot more wood than I should have done, but it was so enjoyable.
Drawing and art was another theme that came up when I asked about this on social media. Gail Thompson from Virtual Instructor-Led Training, or VILT for short, said, "My kind space is when I'm drawing. Whether it's cartoons or more arty stuff, I can really lose myself in what I'm creating. It brings me such joy and contentment." One powerful thread through so many conversations was the idea that our bodies often know what we need before our minds catch up. For Debbie Junior, whose decluttering business is physically demanding, her kind space is essentially body maintenance and includes things like massages, reflexology, and really anything that helps her to feel restored.
My kind space is also to my body, because for me, my body is my business. So
it's a physically demanding,
and I get my massages, and what changed I love is reflexology.
Yeah.
Is literally my two things I maintain on a monthly basis. And I genuinely feel that's what helps me to keep going, feel physically fit. And of course, you might be 8 hours in a loft and you come down and you're like, oh my goodness, my body's aching. But I believe that I need to keep my body, is relaxed and take care of it as much as my physical space.
Founder of Gut Wealth, Gemma Stewart, shared a beautiful reminder that rest is a ritual, and for her, sleep is non-negotiable.
For me, sleep is like my absolute priority. Like if I don't sleep well, I'm not good. So everybody's idea of a good night's sleep or what helps them have a good night's sleep is different. But like for me, I've got a really dark room, which so there's that. I also have a weighted blanket, so it's a 20-kilogram blanket, which when I tell people that, they're like, that sounds mental because like 20 kilograms heavy. But the way that it works is it's got little beads, heavy weighted beads, and they're all like sewn into squares. So the weight is very evenly distributed across you. And what it does is it's like the equivalent, if you've ever stayed in a really nice hotel, you sometimes have a really heavy blanket and you're a bit like, to start with, it's a bit overwhelming, but it just really calms my breathing down. It just like, I get under it, and I was recommended it by a friend. And I remember the first time I put it on, it was like, what was life before that? And now what's life after it?
Family psychotherapist Pei Yang shared how she listens inward, learning to ask herself what she needs, whether it's music, prayer, tennis, or a moment with her pet.
Over the years, I have learned to really listen to myself and listen to my body, my mind, my soul is telling me, like it's too much now. Go and play tennis. It's too much now. Go and spend time with your pet. Go for a walk. Go listening to music. Go pray. Go listening to hymns and go play the piano. So there are many things I use to create that space for myself.
And Rosie Davey, expert in all things pelvic health, keeps it simple. A few stretches, some mindful movement between patients or meetings. A reminder for us that your Kindspace doesn't always need an hour. It's just about setting the right intention and moving your body, whatever that looks like for you.
I think the gym's a massive one for me, movement. And sometimes what I like to do, because an hour's gym session can't always happen every day, depending on how work's been or how demanding certain clinical lists are. So what I have done, rather than give myself a hard time over that, I'll literally just get off my chair and I'll do a ritual of like downward dogs, like some body weight squats, lots of thoracic rotations, and then I've moved.
Kindness doesn't only happen in isolation. Many guests spoke about Kindspaces that are deeply social, rooted in relationships, belonging and joy. Founder of Docket, Catherine Ann Reid, finds her Kindspace in her daughter's community.
I'm going to go back to Chloe, and I feel really lucky to be part of her community. So as an example, we were at one of Chloe's classmates. It was his 21st on Saturday, and we went to a church hall in Henley where there was a group of young adults, all of who had varying needs and varying complexities. They don't care about fashion. If they want to dance, they'll dance. You don't need to dance with anyone. They're not thinking about drugs. They're not thinking about drink. They are caring about each other, so they'll just randomly hug each other. When they see each other, they are delighted. And that whole environment, which is really honest and true, is as kind as it can be. And that for me, being part of Chloe's community, is where I can go any day of the week to be a part of that, to create that kind space. Even something as simple as Chloe gets transport, so she gets picked up in the morning and she gets dropped off at night. And her wee friend is there. And I have gone out there in the morning, taking Chloe out in my pyjamas to the car with my hair all over the place. And our wee friend will say, "You look really pretty this morning." You just like, it just makes your day. So being in her community is a really special place to be, and where, nobody gives a toot about anything. It's a lovely, kind, loving environment.
I just love that story from Catherine Ann. If only we could all see the world this way. Family and community connections are so important. Pei Yang also shared how her husband is key to her emotional well-being, offering grounding and reassurance in moments of stress.
I think my go-to thing is always going to my husband. He is such a calming person. Like, instantly texting him, speaking about my challenges, or I'm not feeling myself today because I miss my parents or whatever. He usually just calms me down straight away. However, he's not my only coping strategy.
Sarah Matthews, founder of Baravere Studio, finds Kindspace in laughter and lightness, moments with her daughter, or a simple trip to the hairdresser to help her feel recharged.
My brain doesn't stop. So for me, my kind space would be to stop and step away and silence my stop brain. And so what I would do typically, maybe go for my gin and tonic with friends out, where unwind. We'll laugh and be silly, not talk about serious things. Just be like, be present. I would go for a hair, salon trip and get my hair done because I like feeling glamorous and pretty. Enhance my feminine nature, I suppose, just feed that a bit more. Maybe buy a bunch of flowers for myself because I love
that's a lovely idea.
flowers. Yes, I do that. And of course, spending quality time with my daughter, who is not a tween. As you know, tweens, how they are. They know better than you. They are tweens, but they're going on 20.
Spending time with our kids or the young people in our lives was a theme that came up a lot. Claire Patricia Campbell, founder of Musoplay and a Kindspace listener, shared her Kindspace. She said, "My Kindspace involves getting cozy on the couch with my two favourites, Oscar, my 20-year-old son, and Enzo, our little fluffy dog, and watching a comedy. It's the best, although sometimes it can take a while to persuade my son." And scientist Monica Gostich reminded us that sharing the joy of moving your body with someone else, whether through salsa dancing or roller skating, brings its own kind of magic.
Yeah, my partner and I do salsa classes. So, it's kind of a us thing. And then there's salsa socials that we go to, and it's just dance. It's just dancing. And there's just something about the social connection and great music and moving your body. It doesn't matter how rubbish you are. It really doesn't. I'm not the best either, but I just genuinely love it. So it's that, and again, moving my body, I love it. My daughter and I, we love roller skating. So we've got our skates and we go places, we put all our protectors on and we just go skate up and down. Then we go for family cycles or hiking, or it's just that movement of the body that is genuinely bringing me happiness.
Hearing these stories over the past 2 years has changed me. I started out thinking of Kindspace as something calm and quiet, a routine maybe that we set for ourselves. But now I see it's about being intentional. Whether that is something ritualistic, like that first coffee in the morning or going for a walk, or something completely opposite to what you normally do to get out of your head and into your body, or vice versa. It's also about the things that you don't do and setting boundaries. Several guests mentioned the importance of saying no and carving time out for themselves, and something I have to admit I am not always the best at. But above everything, I think the other thing that came across was how important it is to try different things and see what works for you. Having variety is a really good thing, and it's actually okay for your Kindspace to change as you go through different seasons of life. So I encourage you to reflect on, what does your Kindspace look like right now? And maybe how has that changed over time, and how do you feel about that? And maybe what sorts of things would you like to try? I just want to finish by saying a huge thank you to all my guests, people who contributed to this episode, and you, my beautiful listeners. I really don't want the conversations to end here, so please join us by sharing how you create your Kindspace. I would be delighted to hear from you. So why not share your thoughts on social media, tag us at Create Your Kindspace, and Remember to subscribe so that you never miss an episode. I have lots more beautiful guests coming up for you to meet very soon.